You're not just thinking about them. They show up when you wake up, when you're trying to focus, when you're in the middle of something important. You don't decide to think about them. It just happens, again, and again, and again. And at some point you start asking yourself, why can't I stop? You've tried. You've told yourself to move on. You've distracted yourself. You've deleted their messages. You've blocked them, and then unblocked them. And still, they're there, in the background. Always. This is not random. This is not weakness. This is not being too emotional. There is a system behind it. A precise, mechanical, biological system. And once you see it clearly, it becomes a lot less magical, and a lot more understandable. Because the truth is this, you are not choosing to think about them. Your brain is. And your brain has a very specific reason. Let's break it down. The first mechanism is uncertainty. Your brain is a problem-solving machine. When something is clear and finished, it moves on. When something is resolved, it closes the loop and stops returning to it. But when something is unclear, when something is unresolved, it stays open. And open loops are dangerous, because your brain cannot leave them alone. It keeps returning, trying to complete them, trying to understand, trying to predict what happens next. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, named after a Soviet psychologist who discovered in the 1920s that people remember uncompleted tasks far better than completed ones. Waiters could remember every item on a table's order before the bill was paid. The moment it was paid, they forgot everything instantly. The mind holds on to what is unfinished and releases what is done. Now think about that person. Is the situation finished? Or is it unresolved? They reply sometimes. They disappear sometimes. They show interest, then pull back. They send a signal that means something, then act like it meant nothing. And that inconsistency creates a loop your brain cannot close. So it keeps going back. Not because they're special, not because they're the right person for you, but because the situation is unresolved. And unresolved things stay in the mind far longer than resolved ones. The second mechanism is dopamine. And this is where most people have it completely wrong. Most people think dopamine is about pleasure. It's not. Dopamine is about anticipation. It's the chemical your brain releases when it believes something good might happen. Not when something good happens, when it might. Every time you check your phone hoping they've messaged. Every time you see their name appear somewhere. Every time you're in a situation where they might show up. Your brain releases dopamine. Not because something happened, but because something could. And here's the key part. The strongest dopamine response is not triggered by guaranteed reward. It's triggered by unpredictable reward. This was proven in the 1950s by psychologist B.F. Skinner. He found that animals who received rewards randomly were far more persistent than animals who received rewards every time. The random schedule created compulsive behavior. They couldn't stop trying, because they never knew when the next reward was coming. Sound familiar? They respond. They don't respond. They show interest. They disappear. That pattern is not just frustrating. It is neurologically identical to a slot machine. You don't win every time. You win sometimes. And that sometimes is exactly what keeps you hooked. Your brain is not looking for love. It is chasing the next reward signal. And until the pattern is broken, the thoughts keep coming. The third mechanism is projection. And this one is the most powerful of all. Because you are not just thinking about them. You are thinking about who they could be. The version of them that exists in your mind. The conversations you imagine. The moments that haven't happened yet. The scenarios you construct while lying awake at night. Your brain fills in every gap in your knowledge about them. And it fills those gaps with the best possible version. The most interesting interpretation. The most hopeful reading. Because your brain wants the reward. So it builds the most rewarding possible picture. And that picture is almost always better than reality. Reality has limits. Reality has flaws. Reality disappoints. But the version in your head? That version is perfect. It says exactly what you want to hear. It behaves exactly how you wish they would. It feels exactly how you need it to feel. And here is the uncomfortable truth. You are not attached to the person. You are attached to the idea, to the projection, to the story your brain constructed. And ideas are far harder to let go than people, because you can physically remove a person from your life. But you cannot remove an idea. It lives inside you, built from your own imagination, which means letting go requires dismantling something you created, not something they gave you. The fourth mechanism is information scarcity. And this one surprises people. The less you know about someone, the more your brain works. When you see someone every day and interact with them clearly, there is less mystery, less to imagine, less to analyze. But when contact is limited, when messages are rare, when interactions are brief, your brain starts filling the space. You replay small moments. You analyze a single word choice. You read between lines that were never written. You build meaning from almost nothing. And suddenly, A 2-second eye contact becomes a significant moment. A one-word reply becomes something to decode. A small gesture becomes evidence of something larger. That is not you being irrational. That is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Finding patterns, building models, making predictions from limited data. The problem is that the person you've constructed from this limited data may have very little in common with who they actually are. You don't know them. You know your interpretation of them. And your interpretation is built to maximize the reward signal your brain is chasing. The fifth mechanism is neural reinforcement. Every time you think about them, you strengthen the connection in your brain. Neurons that fire together wire together. This is one of the foundational principles of neuroscience. The more you think about something, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. The stronger the pathway becomes, the more automatic the thought becomes, until it no longer requires a trigger. It just appears, unprompted, uninvited, automatic, like a reflex. You have literally practiced thinking about them thousands of times, and your brain has become very good at it. Now here's the part that most people find both uncomfortable and relieving at the same time. You are not addicted to the person. You are addicted to the feeling they trigger. The anticipation, the emotional spike, the aliveness that comes from strong feeling, positive or negative. Your brain doesn't distinguish between good feelings and bad ones in this context. It just registers intensity, and intense experiences get prioritized, get returned to, get replayed. This is why you can know logically that something isn't going anywhere. You can know they are wrong for you. You can know the situation is unhealthy, and still think about them constantly, because logic lives in the prefrontal cortex, and the dopamine system doesn't report to the prefrontal cortex. It operates on a different circuit entirely, one that evolved long before logic existed. Now let's be honest about something. Thinking about someone is not inherently a problem. Connection is human. Attraction is human. The desire for closeness is not weakness. Sometimes these feelings lead somewhere real, something meaningful, something worth pursuing. The problem is not the feeling. The problem is when the system runs without your awareness. When you are controlled by a mechanism you cannot see. When the thoughts happen to you instead of you choosing them. That is when understanding becomes necessary. Now step back and look at everything together. You have the Zeigarnik effect keeping the loop open. You have dopamine chasing unpredictable reward. You have projection building an idealized version. You have information scarcity filling gaps with hope. You have neural reinforcement making it automatic. 5 separate mechanisms, all running simultaneously, all pointing in the same direction, all producing the same result. You cannot stop thinking about them. Not because they are the right person, not because this is meant to be, but because the system is powerful, and you didn't know the system existed. Now here is what actually helps. Not willpower. Telling yourself to stop thinking about them is like telling yourself not to think about a pink elephant. The instruction itself creates the thought. What actually works is reducing the fuel. Every time you check their profile, you add fuel. Every time you replay a conversation, you add fuel. Every time you imagine a future scenario, you add fuel. Less fuel means less fire. Not perfectly, not immediately, but gradually. The second thing that works is pattern interruption. When the thought appears, don't fight it. Acknowledge it, and then redirect. Not suppress. Redirect. Your brain is looking for a reward signal. Give it a different one. Something physical works best. Movement, cold water, a task that requires focus. Anything that shifts the neurological state. The thought loses momentum, and with enough repetition, the pathway weakens. The third thing that works is reframing the question. Most people ask, why do I like them so much? That question focuses on them. It strengthens the attachment. Ask instead, what is my brain trying to get? Certainty? Validation? Excitement? Escape from something else? Because the answer is almost never about them specifically. It's about what they represent, what state they trigger, what need they seem to fill. And once you identify the need, you can address it directly, without needing them to be the source. Here is the final shift. The next time the thought appears, don't judge yourself for having it. Don't fight it. Just observe it. Think, there goes my brain, running the loop again. Not with frustration, with curiosity, because distance creates awareness, and awareness creates choice, and choice is what you've been missing. You were never out of control. You were just unaware of the system. Now you're not, and that changes everything. That's it. If you made it this far, you didn't just watch a video. You understood something most people spend years trying to figure out. This channel is about exposing the systems behind your thoughts, habits, and decisions. No noise, no fake motivation, just how things actually work. Voiceover powered by Redacast. AI voiceovers for faceless creators. Link in description. Drop a comment. What do you want us to break down next? Because once you understand how your mind works, You stop being controlled by it, and you start using it.